that much. I mean, really, not for nothing. Who would ever think caviar would have such a good following?
Yeah.
I mean, really, who looked at the first lobster and said, "I'm going to eat that"?
Yeah.
There's some. Hey, you never quite know in this world.
Oh my
well,
God!
hey,
How much of this that we've been saying is live now?
We're about 40 seconds live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this week's edition of the Weekly Roundtable. I am your host and co-founder of the Liberty First Foundation, Frank Johnson. I am also Morgan Freeman's stunt double. And to my right is Michael Vasquez, dragon of the Southern Tier, New York's only true independent journalist, political commentator for 18 years, and boy, have the last 3 been active for you.
Oh, it's getting stupid and more stupid, and I doubled down on my statement about Brie Larson. If you heard that live, I'm not sure.
No,
if
that was not what they would. That was not live.
Okay, they didn't hear that part. Okay,
we only got to talking about caviar.
Yeah, simple enough. I'm not a fan, but I'll leave it at that.
Here's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. You have to forgive our very Spartan arrangements this evening. It seems that Michael Marshall caught my holy crap, my back is out bug, and he's been rendered useless for this evening as he has a bad back. And I just spent 40 minutes climbing up the stairs to the office because my back has been out since last Thursday. We were gonna put Vass all out here by himself tonight and say, all right, you're in charge of the thing, but he already does like 6 hours a week of long form commentary by himself, and I figured he'd be nice for him to talk to somebody for a while. So if we do preemptively close the show at our usual, all right, this is like we are only supposed to run about an hour and a half every week, and if you've been on top of things here, you'll notice that by the time we hit 3 hours and 15 minutes, we're still going. We're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to do that.
My Sunday show is supposed to be about 2 hours. I normally do 4 to 5.
Yeah, well,
and I can keep going.
I know you talk to yourself, so you're able to get good answers.
People used to be able to call in.
All right, so
I don't have the money anymore, but people used to call in.
I mean, we're only supposed to run about an hour and a half to 2 hours a week because we want to try and keep things fast paced, light, with some serious notes in it. We don't like to have dead air. We want to keep things moving, bang, 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 one right after another, get everything going. And there's usually so much to cover.
Yeah.
And I'm usually completely and totally out of the loop. If it's not really gun related, I'm not paying much attention to all that much. I've been going through my own world over here right now, so I'm preoccupied with everything. Well, I'm saying you are the sponge of the news. You absorb everything that there is to absorb, and then we just come here on Friday night. We give you a little squeeze, and we try to get some of it to drain out of you, so we can figure out what the hell we're going to talk about.
Well, I used to do a thing where I could do a wrap up of the week in like 5 to 10 minutes. But that's pretty dense when that happens. It's just like, but that's like most people. Most people have like one issue, they follow it, and that's the only thing in the news they really pay attention to besides the weather, and everything else no one cares about. But the problem with that is, I mean, look at all the things that are happening because we're just not paying attention to enough of the details. And the stuff that's slipping through, it's crazy. I mean, everyone, as an example, everyone this week was talking about DeSantis going and having a debate against Gavin Newsom. So it's the governor of Florida versus the governor of California on Fox News with Sean Hannity being the moderator. And the left is all upset because, oh my God, they're ganging up on Gavin Newsom. And everyone else, who's not on the left are saying Newsom really did badly because he lied consistently, and fact check it. He lied a lot. Great example when he was talking about gun control in Florida. What did he say? Oh, yeah, in Florida, you can get a gun without getting a background check. That's a blatant lie. That is a blatant, absolute lie. Wasn't the only lie he made, but that's a blatant lie. So, and the other one, no one's leaving California. They're going from Florida to come to California. Blatant lie. But a lot of people were looking at that. And my thought about that debate, did you see the debate?
I watched a couple of minutes of it. Truth be told, I couldn't give a flying crap about that debate either, because it has no relevance on today's policies whatsoever. What that basically was to me was an audition for 4 years from now. That's what if you were to look at the odds makers today and look and say, okay, who's going to try and position themselves for 4 years from now? Those are going to be your two leading contenders 4 years from now.
Kind of, it was the tryout for 2028, but it's the battle of the B team contenders. See, Gavin Newsom has been running a shadow campaign all year. He's been running around America, right behind and very quietly behind Kamala, trying to raise up money and to position himself so that if Joe Biden has a mysterious medical illness, falls over on a flat stage one time too many, and he doesn't wind up running in 2024, Gavin Newsom's the heir apparent, and they'll pick him, especially since RFK said, screw you guys, you're not going to give me, Democrats aren't going to give him a fair shot at presenting his position, kind of like with Bernie Sanders. He said, I'm running as an independent. He's getting 22%. Gavin Newsom said, I'm not going to go independent because then I lose all the money and I lose any hope in the future. Instead, I'll be the B team backup, and he's been raising money on that. And then you've got this Ron DeSantis in Florida, who's also doing the same thing with Trump. If Trump gets convicted, which he won't, of anything that would prevent him from running in 2024, which is not going to happen, not because, Trump's, perfect. No, there's no charge that they can provide of anything realistic that could be thrown onto Trump that would prevent him from being able to run in 2024 and get elected. We've already seen that in Colorado. They've already made that decision. It's going to be in every single state. He's going to run. So unless Trump suddenly drops dead, he's running. And DeSantis is there in case he drops dead, that he's going to be heir apparent, which again, I don't think that's going to happen. Nikki Haley would step up. She's really the one who's positioned right for that kind of situation. And you'd see her surpass him because DeSantis screwed up. And this debate, actually, in my opinion, it diminished DeSantis because you're running for president. Why are you debating a guy who's not even running in 2024, who's just a governor of a screwed up state? Why do it? Oh, because he called them out. What do you care? You're running for president. You're already a governor and you're running for president. Why are you bothering with this guy?
Well, I don't understand the logic for that either, unless they're using it for, like I said, is the coming attractions for 2028, or this is just a fundraising apparatus or something. I really didn't see much of an upside for DeSantis, who has been, he's been sliding in the polls since the day he announced. He hasn't, if you look at his projection graph, he hasn't come upward in support at any time. He has either maintained level or has dropped in support as other people have come into the race with him. I don't see why getting on the stage with Mr. Aquavelva guy there was going to make a whole lot of sense politically speaking.
Well, the thing that I know, what I can understand politically, what the campaign for DeSantis was looking for. They've been looking for a shot in the arm. They need something to get momentum back for them. That's why he's been having so many conversations and so many meetings with his big donors, why he's changed his team 3 times now in the campaign. He's looking for something to gain momentum because he's known as Trump Jr. He's little Trump.
Well, what did he have? Was that how long was that debate? An hour or 2 hours?
It was like 2 hours, I thought. I didn't see the whole thing.
All right. So the one thing that it would give him is a 2-hour campaign commercial.
Well, that's
Because
what he was hoping for.
Yeah,
That's not what he got.
He got airtime that the other 7 people who have no chance in hell didn't get.
But
nobody wants to watch Chris Christie.
Yeah, but Chris Christie isn't there to. He's not running to win. He's there to say Orange Man bad. That's
right.
It.
He's there to play he's the Democrat. He's the Democrat pawn.
Yeah.
He's there to try and bring Trump down.
Yeah.
Vivek Ramaswamy
looking for a cabinet position.
I don't know. Yeah. But he's another guy I would keep it at way distant. You want to be a cabinet member? Okay, we'll call up Canada and we'll see if they got something up there for you.
Nah, he'll get VP. He'll be Secretary of Finance. He'll be Secretary of Labor. He'll be something in that regard.
I'm saying if I were Trump, I would not have that guy in my cabinet. He's got way too many connections to way too many Soros and Koch brother kind of things going on for some of the things that he's been involved, that I just keep seeing him as being, you know what he is? You know, I tell you exactly who Vivek Ramaswamy is. He's Chris Christie 12 years ago.
I don't know.
Yeah, 12 years ago, Chris Christie was the most hated Republican on the face of the planet because he was saying all the right things that conservatives wanted to hear, and he was going after the media like a bulldog. He was going after them like crazy. He was Trump on steroids when he first started running for governor of Jersey. Okay, he came out of nowhere. He was going after them like crazy. He was saying all the right things. Then what did he do? He gets into office. He does his little crap. Jersey didn't get much better. I know their gun laws didn't get much better because he's a big gun control proponent. Then he winds up getting into a position in the Trump administration where he screws things up royally, and then he goes after Trump. He's an inside man. That's all Chris Christie is. He used the right rhetoric to get the job so he could be the inside man. Ramaswamy, same thing. He's never produced a thing in his life.
I don't think that's the same. I don't think they're on the same level. Chris Christie is an opportunist. He's a political opportunist, always was. He was there to abuse the power, to get the power and abuse the power. And he doesn't care how he gets or maintains the power. He's being backed right now by Democrats just because he says Orange Man bad. And he knows he has no shot in hell. He's not relevant. No one cares about him, Republican or Democrat. All they care is he's saying Orange Man bad. And as long as he can stick around and say that, he's going to keep getting money from Democrats to keep him going. That's it. And I don't see Ramaswamy as the same thing. I think he's a young guy, very eager, very much naive, idealistic, but he doesn't have a lot of experience. He doesn't really know what he's dealing with in terms of politics. It's all still relatively brand new for him. He's a decent businessman, but he doesn't know politics, and he doesn't know international politics. And so that's why he needs the cabinet position, to get that experience. Obviously, Nikki Haley has been elevated recently because, well, look, the world has suddenly realized international politics, the United States, is important. The United States leading on international politics and international issues is critical. We need a strong leader who has a good presence overseas that can actually make definitive actions. Nikki Haley has that experience. She's willing to do that. She's always been that person, second to Trump, in terms of the experience and ability to shape the international. So she wins. And when we look at DeSantis, he's got none of that. He's not an idealist. He's not an ideologue. And he has no idea what's going on internationally. This whole event this debate was meant to be, I'm the B team. I'm your safety net. Please give me more money. Keep me in this race. That's it. That's what he was looking for. Newsom was looking for, I'm the B team. I'm your backup plan. And I'm just as leftist as Biden and Kamala, except he looks better. And theoretically, they thought, I could hold up the leftist ideology better than they can. As it turns out, he's just as bad as Joe Biden, a man who's very senile or appears to be senile. So, and that's not a good news when the left is looking at, oh yeah, Newsom can't even hold up against the B team, and he wants to run the whole. He wants to go for the still brass ring. He wants to go for it all. It was a waste of time. It really didn't help anyone, and it was a great distraction from what's important. What's going on with Biden? What's going on with Biden's finances? What's the thing that I really was focused on this week? How many Americans were released? How many Americans were released by Hamas? We had a week-long ceasefire that Biden was very happy to say, I'm the guy who negotiated the whole thing, which is not true. That isn't accurate. But he took the credit and said, I'm the guy who negotiated. This is why, we're exchanging 3 prisoners for every 1 hostage, which I think is a horrible deal. And, he's the one who organized that, and he helped to determine who would get released. And his target was to get 3 people, 2 women and 1 4-year-old child who was made an orphaned by Hamas, the terrorists. Now, the problem with that, and most people have not noticed that, and we got two back. This was the rule of low expectations. He lowered the expectations. Do you know how many Americans initially, as of October 16th, do you know how many Americans were said by international news media, going to the BBC, The Guardian, Japan Times, you look around the world, do you know how many Americans were believed to have been taken hostage by Hamas?
I have heard 23. I've heard 80. I've heard 160. I haven't heard any consistent.
No. See, the total number of hostages went from 80 to 116 to 60. Then eventually everyone's been saying, oh, it's about 200. It's actually been 242. 242 confirmed.
And I'm also hearing that Hamas doesn't have an accurate record of who they took. Well, they're not exactly known for being the best bookkeepers.
Well, it's because they lie. It's because they're lying, and a lot of people died. Or this is what's alleged, that several of the hostages they took died, which is why on day 2 of the ceasefire, the reason why Hamas delayed the exchange wasn't because Israel wasn't living up to its end of the deal, that every international news agency said, no, Israel's doing exactly what they promised to do. It was because Hamas had to switch out hostages because some of the hostages died and they had to get different people to replace them. And so they needed time. And they didn't want to say, well, the hostages died in captivity. They said, oh, no. It's Israel being bad guys. Get those guys over there. We need to switch them out. And that's what they were buying themselves time. But the number is, as of October 16th, 22 Americans were hostages of Hamas. 22. Confirmed internationally. By November 2nd, that number, if it was mentioned at all, suddenly decreased to 13. As of 2 weeks ago, the number, if it was mentioned at all, decreased to 9. And Joe Biden came out and said, I made this deal and I'm going to get 3 Americans. That's lowering the bar. It's lowering the bar of expectations, and it's making it easy for Americans to say, I'm pro Hamas. Ooh. I'm for the bad, I'm for the bad guys. I'm for the terrorists. I'm pro Hamas. This is what Harvard was saying. This is what they were saying at Cornell University, Cooper Union. We've been talking about that for weeks now, that he wanted to lower the bar so that when he didn't get all of the 3, we would have said, if we had the original numbers, 22, we'd said, you barely got 10% of all the people. Why aren't you getting the Americans home? 13. Oh, still not enough. It looks like he's only got, 15% of all the Americans. That's too big a number. 9. Oh, well, that's still too many. It's close to a double digit. We got to lower it. Lower the expectations down to 3. Make one of them the child. That gets you sympathy. That gets you empathy. Everyone will think you've done a great job. Oh, Joe Biden, he got 2 of the 3 Americans home. He got one of them being a child. He's such a hero. I'm glad he got them back. Hamas wasn't that bad. They only had 3. And the average American's going to go, oh, he got 2 out of 3 Americans back. He did a great job. He got almost everyone home. No, he didn't. No, the number's 22. That's the number. He got 2 out of 22, 10%. He did a miserable job. And you know who did a great job? Thailand. I want the Thai prime minister doing the negotiations. I want the Thai prime minister going out and negotiating, get Americans back. You know why? Because he got back home 17 Thai nationals. He got nationals that we didn't even know were taking us hostage, and he got them returned home. On his own deal, without Joe Biden, he got his people back home. Screw it. I don't want Joe Biden involved. Don't even dare say Kamala Harris. Give me the Thai prime minister. He got the job done. He's the hero.
How much did it cost Thailand?
We don't know.
Well, I'm guaranteed Thailand don't have the kind of money to throw around that Biden's been throwing around.
Which is why we're spending we gave them $55 million for 2 hostages prior to the ceasefire. $55 million each. Yeah, and that's a reason why we haven't gotten any. Thailand didn't spend $55 million. They don't got it. He made a deal, whatever the deal was. He negotiated, and it didn't cost him $55 million per person, and he got them all home. And Joe Biden, supposedly the leader of the free world, the big, bad, well-respected leader around the world, and he couldn't get more than 2 people. He only got 1 during the actual ceasefire. Through the extension, he got lucky. He got 1 more today. Yesterday. He's a failure. I mean, maybe, and I'm not looking at the chat because I'm talking to the camera, but maybe it's just me. I don't care about DeSantis. I don't care about Newsom. I care about the Americans. There's been 30,000 Americans that Joe Biden has thrown away, that we stopped talking about.
So what's the difference? Well, the only reason I think anybody cares about the Americans that are involved in this situation is because it's a triangulation of 3 different groups now. You have America, you have Hamas, you have Israel. So you have 3 different angles on this thing. With all the people that he left in the middle in Afghanistan, it was only us and them. So.
Well, it's only because people know. If you say Israel, people know Israel exists.
Right. What I'm saying is, like, whatever happened in Afghanistan, this president could mess with the numbers any way he wants to, because who are they going to verify it against? Who are they going to verify it through? With this situation, you have 3 different parties. You have 3 different parties, and you have 3 different stories. And like I said, with eyewitnesses, 10 people see an accident, you get 11 different stories. So when you get 3 different parties are all involved in the same situation now you've got 3 different sources you have to coordinate. So there's going to be a little bit more attention put on this.
No, I don't think that's the reason why. I think it's because people know the name Israel. They didn't know Afghanistan. They didn't know about what Ukraine was. If you ask people what Sudan is, they have no clue what it is. They'll think it's a car. So he had cover. So if we stop talking about them, and as the White House is, in fact, as confirmed by the Supreme Court, they are colluding with the major news media and saying Sudan is not a topic to talk about. Don't speak about it. There goes 15,000 Americans that just disappeared overnight. Don't talk about Americans in Ukraine. Story disappeared overnight. Don't talk about the Americans in Afghanistan. Took 3 months and the story died. No one talked about the Americans that were left behind. But Israel, people know that name. They knew about it before he got in office. They've been following for years. Many Jewish donors are big donors. There's a lot of Jewish organizations that are big donors. You have to talk about it. You have to address it. And therefore, you have to talk about the Americans. Mind you, no one talks about the 33 Americans that died. And as they lowered the number of American hostages, they didn't increase the number of Americans that died, nor did they increase the number of Americans that were found. They just disappeared. Over 11 Americans just stopped being around. They just stopped existing. It's not that they came home. It's not that we found their bodies. It's not, they just disappeared. They stopped talking about them. They're just gone. That's manipulating the numbers.
But what I could never understand is there's still the counterpart here in America. If I was overseas and something happened to me and I was among somebody that you could say was killed, kidnapped, lost, whatever, this, that, whatever else, maybe the government counts me on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And by Friday, they want that number swept under the rug. I'm pretty damn sure that there are people here that would keep saying, what about Frank? The government keeps saying, Frank who? People here in my life, I'm sure Lori would be saying, Frank's still missing.
Yeah, but they don't care. They don't care about that. I'll give you, going back to DeSantis.
But what I'm saying is all these people that are missing, where are all of their families coming together? Where is like some sort of club that all these people that are no longer counted can sort of join up? All these families can be joined up to say, hey, by the way, we're all in the same club of people that America has abandoned, our family members. And we'd like to, I don't know, have a rally, have a petition, have a commercial.
Well,
have a ball, have something.
No, I get what you're saying, but as far as I know, and again, this is as far as I know, there is no organization saying get these Americans home. There are organizations that are working. We have several private Christian groups in particular who are actively sending in American mercenaries, former military, to go into Afghanistan and to bring people home. That's why over 1,000 Americans who did come home after Joe Biden said everyone's home, those 1,000 who came home, it wasn't because of the State Department. It was because of 3 different private Christian groups hired mercenaries to go and get those Americans and to bring them back. There's another 5,000 still there. The thing is, these groups exist. The news media doesn't interview them, doesn't talk about them. Google scrubs their algorithm. You can't find their organizations. You can't find their names. They've scrubbed this because it's bad for the election, because you can't say Joe Biden's a strong leader, Kamala Harris is doing her job, when you go, oh, and there's 30,000 Americans that did not come home, that no one is doing anything to bring home. There's 15,000 Americans this year that disappeared into Sudan. The news media, after May 3rd, stopped talking. They didn't come home. They're still missing. That's still a war zone. Zero in the news.
Well, listen, how are we ever going to expect for us to ever have the ability to call our government to the carpet with everything that it does, everything it doesn't do, all the corruption, everything else? How are we ever going, just vote, just vote, just vote. Everyone's, just vote. We always keep hearing it. Just go vote. How are we ever going to get beyond the fact that we don't have any control over the media? And the media is what feeds the masses the information that the corrupt people tell them to feed. Yes, we can go vote. But if the people aren't getting the right information, people aren't getting honest information, and the media is the one who's driving the show, what is it? that Mika and Joe in the morning, whatever the hell her name is, when she said, how dare this person tell somebody what to think? That's our job to tell the American people what to think. He said it.
That brings us to what we saw with Elon and Walt Disney, Bob Iger. And you can love or hate Elon Musk. Doesn't matter. Okay. He's not stupid. He is one of the richest men in the world. You don't get to be one of the richest, if not the richest man in the world, by being stupid. So anyone who says he's just stupid, you're out of your mind. He didn't become a multi-billionaire because he's an idiot. It just doesn't happen. So Elon pointed out very clear. He's been fighting for more or less freedom of speech on Twitter. Twitter was, as we know from the Twitter files, we know it very clearly from world experience. We know it from congressional hearings when Twitter would go in since 2018, every year going in and saying, oh yeah, we just blocked a bunch of conservatives. We blocked Republicans. We blocked members of Congress. There was an echo chamber. Elon bought out that echo chamber and opened it up, to which the left hated it. And they can't duplicate what they had. They've tried it with Threads. It failed. They've tried it with 2 or 3 other social media platforms. They failed. So X is somewhat more free speech, a hell of a lot more free speech than it ever was before. The left hates that because we have less trust in our mainstream news media, but an increase of people like you, like me, which is the citizen journalist, the citizen, well, I'm actually a member of the press, but the citizen press, individuals who are talking about, our local news media, stop talking about local news. They're owned by conglomerates. They're talking about regional news. Well, guess what? Who fills that space? Social media. Citizen journalists who are still paying attention to the local city council race. They're still paying attention to the school board race. They're still talking about whether or not Timmy was able to cross the street because there was no red light next to the school. We're getting that has replaced the newspapers that used to be able to do that. So you need more free speech in social media, which is what Elon Musk represents and has been fighting for. And you've got the institutions, which Disney represents, who's very chummy, very, very chummy. I mean, while he was at the convention on Thursday, what was he doing? He was buddying up, cozying up, and having a great little chat with Kamala Harris. And he's name dropping her in his speech because they're part of the same institution, left-wing institutional thought. They get to decide what you get to have. They're shoving it down your throat, and people are rejecting it. But they have to reject it on social media too. They have to reject and accept free speech. They go hand in hand. You have to go vote, yes, but you also have to talk about your vote. You have to talk about who you're going to vote for and why before you even get there. You need to have more people involved voting. I've said it many times. We need 8 out of 10 people voting in an election, not 4 out of 10.
Well, listen, what we need, what we're going to get at 2 different things. We're never, I don't care if they told the American people that you're going to get $100 fresh, crisp $100 bill when you go and vote, you'd still only get 40% turnout.
We used to get 80%. In fact, in recent history, we used to get 60%.
When people, we used to get 80% when I think people thought that government really mattered or cared or was not as nearly as corrupt as it is. I think people have just become so disenchanted with the way things work that they've just given up. They don't care. If they're going to vote, they're going to vote on the local thing because they don't really give a shit what's going to happen on the big screen, because they see what happens when the people say, hey, we like this, but government says, well, you can't have that.
But
People get annoyed.
No, but
People get
government
annoyed
doesn't.
when people give up.
But see, Frank, government doesn't get that choice. Here's the thing. I'll give another example.
What do you mean government doesn't get that choice?
Government only is because government only gets to do what we allow it to do. We've allowed it to do this.
No, you see here, you are such. Oh God loves you. You're a fucking optimistic.
No, I'm not.
You really are. You really are, because you look through the eyes. You look through the eyes of somebody who believes that the system can still work. I'm telling you, the system can no longer work. This system that we have in America has been so bastardized and destroyed by the corruptocrats in government that they have made everything from getting a goddamn permit to put a shed up in your backyard into a 2-year ordeal, and people give up. There is nothing you can do in this country anymore that is without the government having its tentacles in it.
That's because people gave up. That's because people have given up and they've capitulated.
It's gotten worse. Yeah. It's gotten worse because people have given up, but people gave up because they were going broke trying to fight it.
No, I don't agree with that.
Every decision that they need to have made in their life takes 7 to 12 years to get done.
No.
They give up because the same corrupt bastard that they see with their own eyes stealing from the public coffers, getting reelected over and over and over again, because at some point, some election is too damn valuable to certain people to let the people have their voice.
Okay.
And they'll figure out a way how to ruin it. And I think in this country, at this point, 80% of the American people have gotten to the point where they'd say, you know what, listen, if they're not dropping bombs on us, I don't give a shit. Let me pay whatever stupid tax rate they tell me. I'll just suck up and pay whatever the frig food costs. I'll forget about getting this for myself so I can pay for the inflation. I don't care. I just don't want to be bothered anymore. Let me watch my TV. Let me watch American Idol. Let me watch Survivor or whatever the hell it is. Don't bother me. Don't come and try to kill me. Don't bother me, and I'm not going to make waves. And that's what
and that's why the system's gotten worse. And that's the problem. The more people say, I'm just going to keep my head down and not say anything, is why everything gets worse, because nothing gets better when you don't address it. If you don't deal with it, it festers and it turns into poison and kills you. And that's what's happening, which is why I'm saying we have to have these conversations. I'll give you a great example. George Santos. George Santos was expelled from Congress today. And that is a crime against both his constituents and America. And here's my thought. See, the whole problem with George Santos isn't that he's a member of Congress. It really isn't. He lied. Yeah. And we know Adam Schiff lied. He was on Rachel Adams every day saying that, hey, there's Russia collusion and I have evidence, which no investigation, 4 investigations later, $35 million, 3 years, including investigations by Democrats, there is no such evidence. He lied to the American people, to your faces, and it didn't matter. Joe Biden lied to the American people, to their face, to September 1st, 2021, and abandoned 5,000 Americans. No one cared. So you can't tell me, well, George Santos lied. Look at the people in our Congress. Yeah, we got lots of people. Sir Eric Swalwell lied, slept with a foreign agent. He's on the intelligence committee, then complaining why they took him off because he's a security risk. There's lots of liars. The problem with George Santos wasn't that he lied. It's that he got caught and they got embarrassed. Here's the thing. George Santos ran. If people were paying attention, they would have called him out for the inconsistencies in his story. That's for the voters. The news media failed completely, abjectly, absolutely failed. If any of the journalists who were covering his election, any of them did their job and actually asked questions or actually looked into his background, he would have been exposed instantly and he would never have been. And the voters would have maybe, I don't know, maybe they would have still voted for him, maybe not, but they would have been informed. The news media failed. The political parties, both the Democrats and the Republicans, completely failed. You can't tell me they didn't do opposition research. You can't tell me that they didn't look into the candidate and just said, oh, you want to run for Congress? Go for it. I've run for Congress. I know they do a background check. I know there's opposition within the party that you have to get through. I know they evaluate your ability to win. And if they have a better choice, how they're going to push that person instead of the person who may be the best choice.
Well, the question is,
party
who
choice.
did Santos run against?
I don't even remember.
Well, apparently neither the voters.
No one does. No one cares because it's immaterial. Santos won. He won. He lied and he won. Fine. And he gets to fill out his 2 years. And the voters get at the end of the 2 years get to say, you lied to us, just the same as Adam Schiff did, same as Eric Swalwell has. You know what? I'm not reelecting you. Fine. But you can't turn around and go, oh, he's such an evil, terrible person because he lied and we only found out when it was politically advantageous. That's the thing. They're pissed off because he's not playing ball. And I'm not telling you he's a good guy. I'm telling you the only reason why this is even an issue is because, oh, he's a scapegoat. He didn't play ball and he's a scapegoat. He's an easy out. They just throw him away. If they actually cared, he would have never made it this far. If they actually cared, someone would have told everyone about it. No one from the public voter through the news media and the political parties, no one cared. You got George Santos because you didn't care. That's what happens when you hold your head down and you lower the expectations to the bare minimum. He's a Spanish guy running, so good enough. You got what you deserve. And he shouldn't be kicked out because afterwards you have some regret going, you know what? I'm embarrassed because he lied to my face and I let him and he won.
You know
Good
what?
for him.
You want to know what? I'm pissed off about that whole situation too. I don't care that he lied to anybody. I don't care that he won. I'm happy that he won his election. I'm actually thrilled that that guy in that shape and with all of the different things that this guy managed to not tell anybody about. I am so happy that that guy won his election because it shows you how screwed up the system is, how vulnerable the system can be if something, I'll put it this way, if there's something that's that little important to the people of the powers that be, that they could let a guy like George Santos win that election, then it just goes to show you, you know, maybe the politicians we have running things ain't as smart as they claim to be anyway. But what pisses me off about it is this guy has not been indicted. They might have it. He might be indicted in the future. He might be indicted tomorrow. You know, who the hell knows? But the man's never been convicted of anything.
Yeah. By the way, just real quick, Zimmerman was his opponent. That's who Santos replaced. It was a Democrat.
Oh, well, they probably thought it was George Zimmerman.
Well, either way, if the Democrats were doing, they're so half-assed. If they were doing half their job, it's called opposition research.
Yeah,
it's a basic part of elections.
But here's the thing: it was such a lowly race that nobody could give enough shit about to do the opposition research and everything. Why are they putting so much credence on trying to make sure that this guy's out of office to begin with? It was a nothing position in a nothing district with an unimportant congressional seat. But both parties find it extremely important. Extremely important. The most important thing in the face of the earth today was to deny this man his due process. Deny the voters of that man's district their due process. because you just nullified their vote. I don't
Yeah.
care how, maybe, hey, here's a weird thing. Maybe the people of his district know he's a liar. Maybe the people of his district know that he's not the most honest guy. They know he's a conniver. Maybe the people of his district saw him dressed up as a woman running up and down the street during Mardi Gras, and they got a kick out of it. Maybe they thought the guy's got a great sense of humor, and the people of his district said, you know what? Screw it. Let's send this guy up there because it'll be freaking hysterical to send them up there. And if that was the will of the people in Congress have absolutely no right to override the will of the people of that district.
Yeah, he was elected.
They have no right at all to take the votes that those people cast and say, your voice doesn't friggin' matter because this guy broke our rules. He broke our rules. What rules did he break? If he broke any rules, he broke rules that he was not entitled to follow because whatever he did was done before he put his hand on the book and became a member of Congress. He might have broke rules to become a member of Congress.
No, he didn't actually. He didn't. There is
He followed the law. He got elected duly.
Yeah.
He got elected duly. He ran a campaign. He won a campaign. And as far as I can tell, he hasn't broken any rules. He showed up for session. He's cast his votes.
Yeah.
He's listened to his debates. He's done his friggin' job. But the people in Congress, Republican and Democrat and Independent alike, all decided, screw you, voters of New York. Your voice doesn't matter. We are going to take away your right. This is why I say when they're looking to get Trump off a ballot, they're not only denying Trump, trying to deny Trump the right to vote, the right to run. They're trying to deny you the right to vote for him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's okay. They're taking away your due process. And that's what they did with Santos. They took away the due process of the people that voted for him, not only for the fact of saying the vote that you cast last year is now invalid. We're also going to take away your right to try and vote for him again or not vote for him again. Maybe the people of his district would have said, you know what? I love the fact that this guy went up there and turned everything upside down. I love the fact that he made a mockery of that whole friggin' place. I'm going to keep on voting for him every 2 years until he's dead, until he's 100 years old and can't run no more, because I think it's awesome. We should all make a mockery of this government like that. Every congressional seat should have a George Santos sitting in it. But you know why? Because that's what the fucking founding fathers intended.
Well, yeah, it's there's nothing illegal about what he did. He didn't break any laws. Nothing says, and again, if they were so concerned about it, they could have identified everything long before the election happened. They didn't care. He's just a useful idiot to take up space. He's a distraction from the people. If you didn't pay attention to DeSantis and Newsom, you had Santos as a distraction. If you don't care about what's happening with Iran and Hamas, Santos is a distraction. Oh, you're done talking about Elon and Disney. Santos is a distraction. It's a great way. And especially in New York State, bluer than blue, looking at the situation that we have right now, they need something to attack. Biden has failed. Bidenomics has failed. That is empirically the truth. There is no way you can spin that. Inflation is skyrocketing. We are watching our infrastructure fall apart. New York and both New York City and New York State is falling apart because of illegal aliens. So is Chicago. So is Colorado. So is California. So is Washington State. We are watching Boston. It just came out and they admitted that they're falling apart now because of illegal aliens, and they're still inviting more in. They needed a distraction. They needed something else to turn everyone to. Oh, we have almost $34 trillion. Inflation is going up. It's up 17%. Depending on how you count, some people say as much as 24%. We're in a recession. We've been in a recession since August of 2022. They needed something to point to take everyone's attention. Santos was the easy out. It's not because he lied. He didn't commit any crime. It's something they could all point to and go, see, there's your bad guy. Be angry at him. We did something, which I hate when politicians do that. They did something. And because the government's micromanaging everything, you don't have to think about it. Don't think. Just say, oh, thank you. No, George Santos should be in office. He should go through his full term. If the people want to vote him out, they vote him out. And if you want to blame someone, blame the Republicans, blame the Democrats. I'm talking about the parties. Blame the Democratic Party, blame the Republican Party, blame all of the local news media and the national news media, and blame the voters. Don't blame him.
Well, again, that's what I said. The whole Santos situation doesn't bother. It doesn't bother me what he did. It doesn't. I don't care what he did. I honestly do not give a flying crap about what the guy did because it doesn't affect the way he could or couldn't do his job. What I care about is the fact that the government decided it was going to act on its own to get rid of somebody it doesn't like. It doesn't like. They don't like him, so he's got to go. They can do that. Apparently, you can just expel people just by voting for them without even having to have a cause or a charge be brought against them. That you can have, if enough people in the House decide that you don't belong there, they can just say, hey, listen, Vasquez don't belong here. Can we get rid of this friggin' guy? And they can take a vote and throw you out.
Yeah, that's not the way it's supposed to work. I mean, there is the articles of impeachment. They exist. There are specific reasons, which would be high treason, is one of the key factors on why you would be removed.
Right,
but we have a process for this.
Right, and nowhere did it say anything about this, that he was being impeached. He was being expelled.
Yes, which is the problem.
That's different. And if Congress can just, because see, here's the thing. Congressional rules. Where the hell do these people get off that they can just decide to write whatever rules they want to write, whenever they want to write it, to suit whatever needs? Because inside, when you look at Congress doesn't have to work like the rest of the electoral system does. Neither does the Senate, because they get to write their own special rules. They get to write their own special rules that they can contort in any which way they want to serve their own purposeful needs. So that when you have somebody who gets into a position of elected, importance, and maybe it's a guy like me, or maybe it's a guy like you, and I'm a threat, or you're a threat to business as usual, well, they have their own rules, and they can just write them however they want to, so they can take me out, or take you out, and that's the end of it. And and that's what is pissing me off about this whole thing, is that it's proof positive. What they did to Santos is proof positive that it doesn't matter who you vote for, as far as I'm concerned, because when you vote for the guy you want and the guy you want wins and he gets up there, if he does what he says he was going to do, which is what you wanted him to do, as soon as he does it, they could throw him the frig out.
And this is the second part, because it doesn't stop at, I voted for him, so it's all over. We got to remember, and you and I get this. People, those of us who do political commentary, who talk about these issues, we understand. It doesn't stop at, I made my vote, so I'm all done. You have to stay involved. You have to keep watching. You still have to be involved with the process. You still have to talk and be part of that process. Every member who voted to expel Santos should not be reelected. Period. That's Republican, that's Democrat, because they have gamed the system. They have now created the process so that they can neutralize any vote they don't like. Oh, you elected a libertarian, someone from the Green Party. I don't know, maybe it's what's her name out of Arizona, Sinema.
Aaron, what's her face?
Sinema, Kirsten Sinema. She's not being a good Democrat. We can get rid of her. Oh, Elon Omar, maybe she's an embarrassment now. We can get rid of her. You can get rid of anybody because of any reason, because it doesn't matter what the reason is anymore.
Right now who's going to fill Santos's seat?
They're going to have a special election.
Well, they're going to have somebody to fill in an interim position.
No, it'll just be an empty seat.
Well, how do they do that? Because now you have a bunch of people in that district.
No, it's the same as if someone died. If someone died in office or they dropped out.
Yeah, well, sometimes somebody dropped dead, their wife took over.
No, again, it goes into the special election. This is after the 2023 election because it's after. There's a rule for this. There's actually rules for this. So
how far are you for Santos's district?
Not far. It's New York City.
Dude, go run. Go run. I'm telling you right now, go run. Go run. Go run. You got a perfect in right now. Go get in.
The Bronx Republicans won't even take my fucking phone calls. So I doubt that they're going to support me in running an election. I don't know why they won't even. There's a problem right there. Bronx Republicans don't actually even contact Republicans who reach out to them. That's how broken New York City Republicans are. You Republicans contact your local Republican Party and they don't respond. Well, I'm surprised he got in the first place. But here's the thing. The process is supposed to be, in general, each state has it slightly different, but once you get past, if you're before the midterm or you're before an election, so if it was September, then they can have a special appointment. As I remember it, you can have the special appointment until the next election cycle, and then they have to go and get put in. It's kind of like when, what's her name? Kirsten Sinema. Kirsten Gillibrand. Kirsten Gillibrand was appointed to replace Hillary Clinton as a senator because she was before the next election, and so they could substitute her in. But if it were after, which it is now, so now because it's after the election and we're going into the 2024 cycle, now they leave the seat open and they just have an open election.
Yeah, well, let's find out. Let's get a list of the voter rolls and encourage all those people to write George Santos's name back in.
That would be funny.
Just send them back. Just keep sending them back.
Now, Dow does mention that there are, in Section 5 of the U.S. Constitution, there are rules about the House and the Senate establishing their own rules. But I don't think anyone ever expected.
Yeah, that might be as a way of saying, how we're going to conduct our voting process, how we're going to conduct our meetings, who's got who takes the chair, who rings the gavel, who's got this, who's got that.
Right,
not
operational.
Matter of because again, if we had a situation where, say you want to impeach a president. You want to impeach a president of the United States, and you have to have 2/3 numbers.
Mm-hmm. If
you got one congressperson who's deciding against it, and two-thirds want to impeach an innocent president, a president that didn't do nothing wrong. 2/3 of the people you have an overwhelming majority on one side, minus one vote, minus one, 2/3 minus one. And you get the one guy or the one woman who decides, I'm not voting for that. I'm not going to vote for it. I'm not going to vote for it. And they all want it. Who's to stop them from just getting rid of that person? Expel them. Well, we don't like the fact that they're going to vote against what we want. Expel them, and we throw somebody in there that we do, especially if we do it before. Like you said, if we could have somebody appointed, or the governor of that state appoint somebody, in the case like would be a senator or something like that. Just put somebody else in there. Now you get, what good is the Constitution if you could have people that can
Nullify the vote.
just manipulate the rules so badly that the congressional process no longer means anything?
Well, see,
It
that's
doesn't make
why.
sense.
Well, see, that's why we need people to stay involved. You can't just vote once and forget about it. When people say, I'm not paying attention to politics, you're the reason why. Those people are the reason why things are getting worse. It's not enough to, yes, you need to vote. Voter apathy is one of the leading reasons why inflation is so bad, why things are falling apart. But on top of that is, well, you have to stay on top of the day-to-day things too. Because if you're not paying attention to that, if you're not, and I don't mean you have to know every single detail, you don't have to follow things like I do watching C-SPAN, but you do have to have, checking in on this once a week, every couple months, whatever your issue is, you have to check on that, because otherwise they start doing things like they're doing right now, where they're nullifying your vote, where they're slipping these little things in the cracks. The reason why we have open borders is because we allowed them to open up the cracks. The moment that cities started saying, I'm a sanctuary city, which is, in other words, you're an insurrectionist. You're violating the United States government at the local and state and federal level. Oh, I'm not going to follow the law. If we see cities, when we see mayors and cities and states saying, oh, I don't want to follow that rule, that's not your choice. That's why we have a society. That's why we have a nation. We all agree. Even when I don't like the law, I follow the law because I'm part of a society. And even though I may not like it, unless I can get a group of people to vote with me, that's the law. We live by the letter of the law. If you don't like it, change the law, not disregard the law. Because if I disregard the law and decide, I want to go out and harm someone, I can't just say, well, I didn't feel like following that law.
Well, listen, sometimes you have to break that law to challenge it.
That's also that's fine, but
that's part of that's part of your duty as an American citizen.
Yes,
if there's
an unjust
law, if you have an unjust law, it's incumbent upon somebody, because if you just wait for your or try to petition your representatives to say, hey, I want you to change this law, it never gets there. Sometimes somebody's got to take the fall on the dagger, so to speak. They got to fall on the dagger, take the hit, go to court and challenge it, because challenging the law in court, if you can prove its unconstitutionality, is the quickest way to have that law overturned.
And I agree with that when it comes to like red flag laws, when it comes to the New York Safe Act. We saw that. We've seen that in action where people go, okay, I'm not going to, that's an unconstitutional law, and I am not going to obey that law, but you still suffer the consequence until that law, you go through that process and you are willing to accept the consequence. When we had sanctuary cities, we said, we're going to let that go. Well, no, there should be a consequence. Remember back in with Bush, in the G.W. Bush, what was the threat? Oh, we're just going to cut all the funding to every city that says they are a sanctuary city. We'll cut the funding to every state that says they're a sanctuary state. If you don't follow immigration laws of the United States, you don't get federal money. And for some reason, we let the Democrats and those progressives off the hook, and they didn't do it. Why? Because, well, the Republicans wanted to make sure they got all their seats. They were afraid of losing that next, it was the midterm elections. Screw that. The law is the law. Enforce the law. The moment we stopped enforcing the law, we lost control of various aspects of our government. And now you started nullifying votes. You started nullifying the voice of the people, which is why people have to get involved, because most people didn't notice that George G.W. Bush was going to go and cut the funding. If they did and they supported that, he would have cut the funding, and we wouldn't have the problem we have with immigration we have today. People needed to be involved. People needed to speak up.
Well, real quick, Dal, I'm reading what you wrote over there in the comment section, and yeah, I understand that's in there. But what I'm trying to say about yeah. What I'm trying to say about that is, you say it says each house may determine rules of the proceedings, punish member for disorderly behavior. Okay, where it says members for disorderly behavior, everything that they're complaining about that this guy did, he did prior to him becoming a member of Congress.
Yeah,
These are all things-
it wasn't
Yeah.
disorderly behavior. He didn't do anything disorderly in elected office.
Right. While he's been in office, as far as I can tell, he hasn't been doing anything wrong. So what I think they're using is they're using the verbiage here. They're trying to twist it in such a way where they can just justify getting him out without actually having to point to a charge. And since he hasn't even been convicted or indicted for anything yet, we still don't know why. I mean, look, here's the bottom line. Congress would look a lot better if they were to just say, you know what? Let's let things run its course and see what happens, and then we'll take action after the legal system has taken its toll on things.
Look, go ahead.
But they don't want to do that, and I think it's probably because if they would have let things go the course, they might uncover some bones and skeletons of some people that they might not want to uncover. And I think the easiest thing to do is get rid of this guy now before he accumulates too much power and authority.
No, I don't think that was it. I think the reason why they went after Santos and why he was the proper scapegoat, one is the timing, because they need a distraction right now, because we're going into 2024 and the Democrats need distractions so people aren't paying attention to Bidenomics. They're not noticing as much the bills that they're paying going into Christmas. They are not paying attention to the fact that 33 Americans were killed by Hamas, that 22 Americans were taken hostage and we're not getting them back, and 30,000 Americans have been disappeared by the Biden administration. They needed a distraction. And the Republicans were afraid to fight for a guy who lied. The point is, it's not about whether or not he lied. This, and most importantly, is the establishment, Democrat establishment, Republican establishment. They are the ones who said, you know what? This gives us more power over the people. We have now taught the public a lesson. You can vote for anyone you want to, and we will get rid of the people we don't like. They've now created a precedent where if the establishment, the elites, don't like what you do, they will override it. That is how we become a authoritarian dictatorship, or an oligarchy, if you want to call it that. This Santos, the problem with this is the slide away from democracy, away from freedom, and into being North Korea. And It's not because I think he's a good guy or that I think, he's wonderful or anything he did was positive. I'm not supporting any of that. I'm saying freedom is a double-edged sword. You got to pay attention to the details, but that doesn't give the government the right to just say, okay, throw out the rules. Doesn't matter anymore. We get to control it all no matter what.
Well, and to me, it's just another reason why you have such lower voter turnout, because I think the people that do pay attention to things see stuff like this and they just throw their hands up and go, it doesn't even matter anymore. It doesn't even matter.
And this is why it's the critical moment where people have to do the exact opposite. The natural response to this, the response that the establishment, the elites want is, I give up. Put your head down. Just say, okay, I'll do whatever, and be silent. That is the exact wrong response. It has to be the exact opposite.
Imagine making a law that said you cannot make political contributions if you don't vote. In order to be eligible to make a political contribution, you must vote.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting. I don't know if I like that or not. Not that you have to, not that it doesn't mandate that you must make a donation because you voted,
It's
it's
to qualify to make a donation to a political candidate or campaign. You must first vote in that previous election cycle. So, like when you're first eligible to vote at 18, okay, you vote your first time, you get you stamped. Okay, now if you want to make a donation, you can make a donation.
Yeah, but does that mean that say you're 18, I vote.
Right. So
does
now
that mean that when I get, and if I don't vote again until I'm 30, does that mean I can make a donation when I'm 30?
No, you have to vote
when I was 18.
No, you can't. You can't make a donation to any cycle unless you voted for the previous cycle.
Okay, so you're always one before. There's always
right.
the one
So
before.
You're right. So every 2 years, you would have to vote if you're the type of person that has to make a political contribution. Well, likes to make a political contribution. People say, well, not a lot of people want to make the political contributions. You can't do this. You can't do that. But there's a reason why. Because all those Congress people that call up and beg for money every 2 years, and they call up and they call and they beg for money all the time for all of these people, and half of the time they wind up begging for money for people that, oh, I can give you $5, I can do this, I can do it. They don't vote. You get a lot of people that don't vote because they just think that the congressional representative is just going to go vote the way they wanted them to. And because they were shoo-in, they're not going to vote. Well, imagine all those Congress people finding out that they cannot solicit the money from their constituents because the constituent wasn't eligible to give the donation because they didn't vote in the prior election.
I get that, but
you dry up with the campaign money. You dry up.
I don't know that it would. No,
and then you actually have your people telling people, listen, you have to get out and vote. You can't just let us have our own devices. You have to hold us accountable. You have to hold us accountable.
Actually, that wouldn't happen. What would happen is what we're seeing right now. They would focus more on the people who do. They wouldn't waste their time with the people who aren't voting. They would just focus even more on the people who are making donations, who did vote and made a donation. They would just focus on the group that exists. They wouldn't look to expand it.
What do you think
Republicans and Democrats are not looking to expand the voting base in America. They're not. They're not out recruiting people. Yeah, they do the thing, get out the vote, get high school students. That's indoctrination. They're signing up Democrats all the time. They don't expect any of them, and we know the kids don't vote. 18-year-olds, no one's counting on them to make a vote to change an election. No. They're counting on 30-year-olds, 35, 40, 45-year-olds to make the vote. That's realistic. They don't care. They know 60%. It's better for the establishment to have fewer people voting than to have more, because it's easier to control and maintain power when you only have to deal with 4 out of 10 people instead of having to deal with 8 out of 10. And if that number means that if you make it only 2 of them can make donations, they will focus on, which is what they're doing right now. They'll only focus on those 2 who are making donations, not the ones who aren't. They don't care.
Well,
I mean, I like the idea, but the problem is it's the same thing that's happening now.
You got to figure out a way how to, if you can't encourage people to engage in politics, you have to force them to at least open up their eyes enough so they can see why they should be.
Well,
you're gonna get them things from those pieces they put in your eyes that stretch your eyelids open. In what was that, Clockwork Orange?
Yes.
Yeah. Would wake up? Take a look at what they're doing, and look at what they're doing with guns this week. What the big Democrat thing they're trying to do. They're trying to turn around and use the. We're only going to go to 10:30 tonight because my back is killing me and I'm exhausted. I don't have them things from the movie to keep my eyes open.
Okay,
but they're now trying to take the Second Amendment and roll it into. They're trying to say that the gun violence epidemic in the United States constitutes a national health crisis, and therefore they want to take the Second Amendment and kind of abolish it so they can put it under regulatory authority. I hate that.
Yes.
It's a very hard phrase for me to say. So that they could better curtail the violence that's plaguing our beloved country.
Well, they want to turn it into, okay, it's like getting measles or the mumps. It's like, oh my God, it's the same thing. Gun violence is like measles. It's just contagious. This is stupid. If someone actually said that to you and said, well, gun violence is like getting the common cold, you would look at them and say, you're out of your mind. You're stupid. Well, they're saying that, except they're saying it in a different way. It's a national health epidemic. Well, that's like saying measles, but you don't catch gun violence. It's not the common cold. You don't suddenly get the gun violence bug and decide to go out on a 24-hour shooting spree. It's stupid, but it's just a way to, again, if you're not paying attention to the details, if you're not listening to these people, if you only hear the headline for 30 seconds and they say, well, we're doing something, again, that keyword, do something to protect you. And because this is about your health. Well, that sounds really good. That sounds important. So, vote for me and support me because I'm going to help you. I'm going to protect you. Lie. That's a lie. It's about power. It's about saying, oh, you can't defend yourself. It's telling women and children and minorities that you are a second-class citizen. You're not capable of having agency and make decisions for yourself. How dare you decide that you can defend yourself? You peon, you serf, shut up and allow us to run your life. That's what that is.
There's only two things I don't want to ever hear from my politician. I don't ever want to hear my politician tell me that they're going to give me anything. And I don't want to ever hear my politician tell me that they're going to take something from me. Don't give me anything. Don't take anything from me. Leave me the hell alone. Leave me alone. Allow me to live my life the way I see fit in accordance with the Constitution and leave me alone. If I want to go buy a gun, leave me alone. If I want to go buy my ammunition, leave me alone. If I want to eat fatty foods, leave me alone. If I want to build a deck on the back of my house or dig a hole in the ground and put a pool in, leave me alone. Leave me alone. You want to go start a war with a foreign country that I don't give a shit about, and you're going to come to the house? Hey, we need you to join up and come fight. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. It's not my fight. It's not my war. It's not my battle. I didn't start this shit. Leave me alone.
I understand. It's
when it comes and you come and tell me, hey, the threat is here. Our ability to leave you alone is under threat. That if we lose this, we're going to have to do this, that, and the other thing, and we're going to interrupt you being left alone. Well, then you know what? Then I'll saddle up and I'll come join up with you and get going. Most Americans just want a small government that leaves them the hell alone. And if we had a government that just left most people alone, let capitalism work the way it's supposed to work, stop writing laws that benefit the special interests, stop putting power in the hands of people who don't deserve power, and leave people alone, you'd find out that things probably work a hell of a lot better.
Yes, but that requires people being involved. You can say, I want to be left alone. You have to be involved, because being silent never results in the best interest. It never gets you better situations. I understand everyone wants to be left alone. You can be left alone. You got to be involved.
I understand how how expensive my peace of mind can be. I understand that there's a price for me being alone and not being disturbed. I understand that there's a price to pay for that, and I will pay the price to pay for it. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Stop.
Yeah, but the only way they will stop and the only way they leave you alone is if you're paying attention. You have to be involved. You can't walk away from it. You can't.
Right. No, but you see, here's the thing. If I'm left alone, I do what I want. I pay attention to what I want. I see what I want. I do what I want. I hear what I want. I listen to what I want. I read what I want. Pay attention to what I want. And I vote the way I want.
But most people don't do that. That's not what most people do.
If you leave me alone and stop filling my life with all kinds of crap that I don't have to, that I don't really need and I don't need to worry about, and let me worry about the things that are important, but you'll have more engaged people.
Yeah, but Frank, that's what they're promising people now. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. We will do something. That's what you hear from every politician. We're doing something. Don't worry. It'll be okay. We're going to take care of it for you. We're going to protect you. We're going to give you stuff. We're going to do something. That's
right. But
that's the mentality that gets us to do something.
That goes back to the first statement that I made. There's two things I don't want to hear from my politician.
Don't give and don't take.
Don't give me anything and don't take anything away from me.
I understand, but the only way you get that.
Everything that they say they're going to do involved in to do something is going to require them to do one of the two things I don't want.
Yeah, but the only way you get to the result you want, or to even get the first two conditions, is you have to be involved. You have to be involved. You have to keep them honest.
I don't know how the hell we're going to get more people out there, get more people engaged. I honestly don't know.
Well, I'll tell you one of the things you can do is I want to point this out. Here's something from this week as an example. And did you see this? This is something yesterday. The press secretary, White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, she is apparently a racist. Not because I think she's racist, because by the Democrat definition of racism, the definition being pushed by progressives in colleges and high schools right now about power, that you can only be racist if you have power. And it seems the White House is racist against African people and African nations, because the White House press secretary, rather than the United States right now has issues with Congo. We have issues with Angola. We have issues with the Sudan, of course. And rather than actually talking to African news reporters in the White House, in the press pool, rather than taking their questions about what the United States is doing, rather than addressing the concerns of the news media and therefore the American people in the world, they instead ignore them. And when they do ask a question, shut them up. And if they dare to repeat their question, this is the news media, they end the press conference and walk away. They have a tantrum. Our White House is having tantrums because a member of the press dares to ask a question, and he happens to be from Africa. They don't do this to Deutsche Welle. They don't do this to the BBC, the Guardian. They don't do it to the New York Times, the New York Post. They don't do it to Fox News, CNN. They don't do it to European descent. They don't do it to Americans, but they have no problem doing it to African nations and Africans. Here's the thing. According to the left, that's their definition of racism. The White House, Karine Jean-Pierre, she has power. She is an elitist. She's got an elitist education. She's in the top 1% of income in the world. She's in a position of power because of her gender, her race, her sexual preference. She is in a position, she's been elevated into a position of privilege. And she is using that to abuse and punish people who are impoverished and not as well off as her. That is, by definition, from the left, racism. And instead of calling that out, instead of pointing that out, instead of what the left would normally do, trying to cancel her or cause her to be fired or replaced, they're just ignoring it. This is why we need local news media. This is why we need citizen journalists and political commentary. It's why we need to talk about these things. And we need to be aware and make the elected officials know we're paying attention. And she needs to answer. The White House secretary and the White House have to address, are you being racist? Does the White House support racism against Africa and therefore Africans? Is that what the DEI is all about? Is it just one big show meant to shut people up and keep them quiet while they push racism around the world? They need to address that. Did you hear about this?
I see some. I see. Dal mentioned Simon is a good guy. Is that Simon Atiba?
Atebe, yes. Simon Atebe.
Yeah, super good journalist. Always asks poignant questions. Always, honest questions. Things that are always pertinent and up to the minute. I didn't see the. It's not the first. If she canceled the press conference, it's not the first time she's done it.
No, it's not the first time.
She's walked out on a couple of it. I think that that gold eyeshadow that she wears is reflecting too much of herself into her own mind, because after all, she is a historical figure.
She is a privileged elitist, and according to the definition of the left, of the progressives, she is a elitist and privileged, and therefore in their minds and in their definition, she's racist. And I think she should be called out for that. She should have a reason. Why aren't you talking to African news media about African news in the White House, which involves the United States government? Why aren't you answering that? Because if they won't tell them that kind of news, what are they not telling Americans? Well, I know what. They're not telling Americans that there are 30,000 Americans that have been thrown away. 15,000 of them happen to be in the Sudan. And I think she's terrified. I think Karine Jean-Pierre and the White House are terrified that if they let Simon Atebe, the African news media, if they take their questions, they might get the question. And by the way, what are you doing about those 15,000 Americans? What are you doing about those Americans who are trying to be refugees going into other African nations that you guys just forgot about, that you just threw away as these warlords go ape because, Al-Qaeda and ISIS, which you allowed to be released from the prison in Afghanistan, are now sweeping across Africa, causing civil war. What about those 15,000 Americans? They don't want to answer that question. They're terrified that a reporter that they do not have power over will ask a question, and they don't want to answer that. That's why I think ultimately it's not racism. It's about suppression. It's about power. That's what I think it ultimately is. Does that make sense?
Well, like I said, if you don't have a good answer to a question, avoid the question.
Yeah.
And there's no what. Plus, there's probably no. She doesn't know what that guy Simon is going to hit her with, because sometimes he comes up with some. He's like the African Peter Ducey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He'll segue into a question you don't see coming. And she ain't all that bright. If she ain't reading from those notes of hers, she'll be lost like a deer in headlights.
Well, she's as bad as is she the one who's like circle back? I'll circle, but no, that's the other one. That was the redhead. That was Saki. Yeah, but she's even worse than Saki. She's even worse.
Well, she got every response that she has to every question comes full circle back it's the Republicans' fault.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The fucking dog biting Secret Service agents.
Yeah.
That's going to wind up coming back to Republicans at some point. It'll
I
be
love it.
Republicans' fault.
Yeah.
With the
They have
dog biting Secret Service agents. It'll be the Republicans' fault that Hunter Biden left a bag of cocaine in the White House. Every single question that they ask, he brings it around to it being Republicans' fault.
Yeah, it's
He's
amazing
gonna hit her
how
with something that there's no way for her to bring it to there. And she doesn't know how to respond to something unless she can pin it on a Republican.
it's still Trump's fault. The economy is doing fantastic, except when it's not, and then that's because of Trump. No.
And when you talk about like what he was asking about, if you look at like we're talking about Angola over here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which one of the presidents of the African nations is it that's out there talking, telling, listen, don't come to Africa telling us that we have to change the way we do things here. They don't have gay marriage.
No.
They don't have the trans
Uganda.
community.
Uganda.
Yeah,
that was
right,
Uganda who said that.
Right. But it's also worth noting that most of the other African nations don't exactly, cheer for this stuff either.
None of them do. None of them do. Except South Africa.
Right. But they're all pretty much of the same vein saying, this ain't for us. Don't be coming, because you heard what they're saying is that like a lot of the money that they want to send out in foreign aid is going to be tied to civil rights campaigns on how accepting of the trans and gay community your nation is.
They've been doing that anyway. I mean, the money that we've been sending already, $2.6 billion a year, is to convince the world to be California.
All right, but this is what I'm going to circle back now to one of the first points that we made earlier this evening. You see how they're saying, if you don't do what America tells you to do with your civil liberties in your country, we are going to withhold funding until you capitulate.
Yes.
And it's perfectly fine. The State Department can decide who to or not to send money to. With foreign aid, because that goes through that's the executive branch. The foreign aid, things have to approved by Congress and Senate and all the rest of that. But for whatever reason, the State Department decides it wants to withhold funds. It can withhold funds. But when we spoke earlier about the sanctuary cities, when W was saying, if you don't follow along with our immigration policy, we're going to deny you funds. He was ruled by the courts that he didn't have the authority to do that.
Which I disagree with.
They couldn't deny money to the states from the federal government for not following immigration policy. The courts said the federal government doesn't have the authority to withhold funding for the states. And the Democrats at the time was screaming at the Republicans, just because the states don't do what you want them to do doesn't give you the right or the reason to deny them funding. But now African nations don't want to go along with the with the Bob Became Mary show. Well, we're not sending you any money until you have gender affirming taxpayer surgeries and everything else. So it just amazes me that here we have a situation 12 years ago, where the United States is trying to preserve what the United States is by at least having some sort of border, at least have some sort of check-in system at the gate that says we would really like to keep America for a little while longer. And if you'd be so kind as to sign on the guest book when you come in, let us know what you're doing here, where you are, and all the rest of that stuff. That was wrong of us to do that. That was wrong. But we can now tell every other nation in the world, you got to become California, otherwise we ain't giving you no money.
Even though most people don't want to be California. When overwhelmingly, even Californians don't want to be California. Even famously, Gavin Newsom's father-in-law doesn't want to be Californian. I don't know if you heard that. I don't know if you heard about that part. Did you hear about that part?
No.
Oh, I'll show you. And Ron DeSantis is running wild with this. He's really eating this one up. Here it is. There. So Ron DeSantis is highlighting that, as he says, if you listen to the clip, he's saying, I was talking to this guy. He's telling me how well Florida is governed. It's so much better off, more opportunity, more freedom, more access to everything I want to have. And he happened to be the father-in-law of Gavin Newsom, which is funny. It's just funny. And supposedly is true. But it's the same kind of concept here. You know, we did this to Pakistan. We gave them $200 million and said, here's your money, become California. We keep pointing to all these countries. Remember when we gave up the Taliban, when we gave up Afghanistan for the Taliban, we said, become California. They said no. We gave them money anyway. We've said this throughout all of Africa. We said this in South America. We said this in Central America. We're saying this in state after state and city after city. And even the Californians don't want to be Californians. Even they don't believe this. It's the progressive movement. At the end of the day, it's just that they are very vocal. And if you raise up any opposition, you're the bad guy. This is when Uganda and Angola and the African News come up and say, hey, we don't agree. Oh, well, then we're going to punish you. You don't get to speak. We are going to cut off your aid. In America, if you speak up, oh, I don't believe in blind affirmation. I don't think that we should be trying to indoctrinate our kids into chopping off their genitals or any of that other California ideology, that progressive ideology. Oh, well, then you're an ist, you're a phobe. We have to silence you on the internet. We have to suppress you on YouTube, which, by the way, we have evidence now. There is evidence. YouTube, just like the old Twitter, they're in collusion. They're suppressing your voice. They're shutting people down. They're punishing you. Why? Oh, because you dared to speak out. And they only get away with this stuff, just like the voter suppression, just like everything we were talking about earlier. They only get away with this when people don't speak up. When most of the population are just keeping their head down. 6 out of 10 are saying nothing, doing nothing, hoping that they get overlooked. That's when these guys get to pull this stuff, and we suddenly become less free and more dictatorial. We become more of an authoritarian nation, not a democratic or representative country. It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Yep. Hell of a way to end the show on a high note.
I find it interesting. Hey, just remember, folks, Karine Jean-Pierre, yes, the first black, gay, racist press secretary for the White House. And it all happened under the Biden-Harris administration.
Yeah, and as Michael just pointed out, student loan forgiveness, just keep ignoring what the court says. Just keep finding a way around it. Find a way around it.
Well, he's buying votes. I saw someone say, we've never seen a president. I think this came from the White House, or maybe it came from it was Hakeem Jeffries, the progressive. He's president of the Progressive Caucus. He's the top of the Democrats. And he goes and he says, we've never had a president who has done more in trying to eliminate college student loans. And my response to him is, we've also never had a president so desperate to try and get college students to vote for him. They've never tried to buy off that many votes before. It's just pure desperation. And he knows he can't do it. He knows legally he can't do this. He knows this is illegal. The Supreme Court has already said it's illegal.
Well, he's had a lot of this stuff has already gone through. He's already said, we forgive this amount, we forgive that amount, we forgive. And as people say, oh, my loans got forgiven, my loans got forgiven. What is going to happen? Are those people going to get a bill in the mail like 3-4 years from now when it finally comes down and says, oh, by the way, you still owe? Oh, there was one thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
If you think that's not possible, if you think it's not possible that you're one of those people that got your loan forgiven, and then in a couple of years from now, you find out maybe it wasn't. Something's happening in the U.S. military right now that
the COVID.
No. Remember all of that shit that got left behind in Afghanistan?
Oh yeah, massively. Yeah,
okay.
It's been found all around the world.
Oh yeah, there are servicemen, from what I understand, that have finished with their enlisted detail and are getting a bill for all the stuff that they were ordered to leave behind.
What? No, I heard about the United States, the State Department charging Americans who wanted to leave Israel and Gaza. They were charging them for the plane trip.
Right. You heard about that.
I heard about that.
What I'm talking about is, hey, you were in Bagram at that Air Force base, and that's where you were assigned to.
Right.
Okay. You remember your Kevlar helmet that they told you to leave behind, and your sidearm they told you to leave behind, and your M4 they told you to leave behind. Oh, don't worry about your sleeping bags. Don't worry about your gear. Don't worry about your rations. Don't worry about this. Just leave all of that shit. We got to leave all of it. Pack it up. Get on that C-130 and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, okay, they come back. They're stateside. They get their assignment. They go to where their FOB is going to be. This is where they're located. This, that. Okay, now they're done with their tour. Well, you got to go over, and you were in the service. You got to turn in a lot of shit at the end of the thing. You just don't get to keep a lot of stuff.
Well, no, it's government issue items. Yes.
Right. So you have a lot of stuff that got to go back that you are responsible for during your time that you're in the service.
Except when I'm given an order. When you're given an order, which Joe Biden gave in 2021, the order was retreat. Leave everything behind. They left Bagram Air Force Base overnight, not telling the Afghan government. They told no one. They literally picked up the soldiers and walked out the door.
All right, yeah, but I don't give a shit about anything. What if it was an order? If it was this, it was that. I don't care. I don't care about any of that. All I know is you get Marines getting hit with a freaking bill for $4,000 because the equipment that they left behind. Well, I don't know how they said. Well, maybe that wasn't in a part of the itemized things that you were supposed to leave them.
No. That's an order. That is not going to stick. It's not going to stick because it was an order.
Dude,
it was a lawful order. You can't
forcibly discharged thousands of service members because they didn't want to take an experimental drug.
Yeah. And that's been overturned as well. That's been overturned.
But now they're trying to recruit everybody, saying, "Oh, by the way, you can come back."
Yeah, they're trying to get them back. That's because they missed their recruitment numbers for the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. No one's coming back.
No, but they're telling them, "No, you can come back. You can come, but you still have to take the shot."
Yeah, and they're still not coming back. This is why we've missed recruitment numbers for the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. They've all missed their recruitment numbers because no one wants to be in a warm and fuzzy, progressive military. It just isn't right. You want to be in the drag Navy? There's a reason why that was a song and not real. But I'm talking about YMCA movie. Now this to me is a song, Village People, 1978. Pretty fun. Anyway, this is insane. This is insane. That was a lawful order that came from the commander in chief down through the line. You cannot hold the soldiers should sue because they are not. They are not. You can. I don't care what the bill number is. It's not their responsibility. They were actively being assaulted. They were given a lawful order as a retreat coming from the commander in chief, who made it an immediate, and I'm not mispronouncing that, that's an immediate order to retreat, abandoning all items, nothing to be salvaged, nothing to be maintained. Drop it and go. Full retreat. That is a lawful order. I am not responsible for anything that I was ordered from the commander in chief to abandon. That's going to be a massive lawsuit. Government's going to lose on that. Well, the UCMJ will, and it's actually not a matter of the Constitution. This is the Unified Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ.
Right. Well, in the meantime, you got service members are getting hit with these bills, and they're going to be denied their benefits until those bills are settled. And you're going to see how long and how many of our service members are going to suffer on account of this, because they're not going to be able to. They're going to be denied their medical treatment. They're going to be denied their other veterans benefits. They may be denied their homing, their VA mortgage allowances. They may be denied stuff for their kids. They might be denied a whole lot of stuff if they don't make good on these things. And then we have to wait. How long will we have to wait for the courts to straighten this out? This is another one of those situations where they don't care about the damage they do, because they know it's going to get overturned. They only want to do the damage.
So I think they're doing it because they think they can get away with it. Because, to be fair, I follow a ton of news. And I kind of remember seeing something about this, but I didn't check into it. And that's my fault. But, there's only so much news, so many things you can follow in any given day. They're counting on the fact that the American people don't know about this. They haven't heard about this, that they're going to get away with this, that people who haven't been in the military are going to think, well, that's normal. Of course you should pay it back. No. And thank you for making me aware of this. This is insane. And Mike Bowie, you got it right. Here we are trying to charge our veterans for obeying a lawful order. And meanwhile, we're punishing our military for obeying a lawful order. And we're trying to buy off college students for doing nothing. This is insane.
Well, we'll see. Now that I can end the show on a little bit more of a cheerful moment. Let's get everybody riled up and look into it. But like I said, what I'm saying is, you're going to have a lot of service members who are going to suffer needlessly while they wait for this to be adjudicated. Yeah. If it actually is adjudicated, because the way the courts are running these days, really not having too much faith in them, especially when you have people who are being nominated to be federal judges who have taken policy position papers where they want to let everybody out of pretrial holding, regardless of what they've been charged for. They want to empty the prisons out as much as they can. They want to defund the police. They want to do everything they can. Huge proponents of gun control for the law-abiding citizens. And the only judicial experience they have was overseeing one case of somebody had their driver's license revoked.
Yeah.
That is the extent of the criminal experience of the latest person that this White House nominated to be a federal judge. And that every Democrat voted yes.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
So do I have faith in our federal government? I have nothing but faith in our federal government that they could fuck up everything.
That I would agree with. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. This is ridiculous, which is why we stay on top of it. We have to.
So call your Congress people. Sit, watch C-SPAN for a day. Take a Sunday and watch C-SPAN review for the week. Catch up on all of the stuff that.
Screw C-SPAN. Watch me. I'll be doing it on Sunday.
Yeah. Let Vass take care of that for you. Watch Vass. And I'd say watch me, but I'm not. Why nobody's seeing me this weekend. I'm sitting like really bad. I hurt my back a year and a half ago at work, and it's just been getting progressively worse. I got a disc in my back that's blowing out, and it's like they say, you can't put the jelly back in the donut. Well, that's kind of like what's going on with me. And for the last week and a half, my back is out badly. So where we would normally go for a little while longer, I'm not going to be around because I got to go. I got to go lay on a heating pad or do something. If I can make it to the range this week, hopefully we'll have a couple of videos up this week. We're actually going to do Wheel Gun Week. We're going to do a whole week devoted to nothing but revolvers. And we're gonna take them out, and even gonna be running. Musk can't rebuild me. He ain't sticking nothing inside this. That's it. I'm relying on God to help fix me. But it's Wheel Gun Week at the Range Report. We're devoting a whole week to revolvers, including a 38 Smith & Wesson caliber. All right. Which is not to be confused with a 38 Special. A 38 Smith & Wesson that was once used by Al Capone.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh my God.
Yes. I will detail the history of that firearm when I do the video. If I can just find the right grave, it'll be $1 million gun, but I can't. So it's only worth a couple of $100, but we'll see. All right, so listen, I'm gonna book out of here.
All right,
you see the scrolly stuff down below, L1F.us. Follow us there, share us there, and all the rest of that stuff. I ain't going through the whole spiel.
Support, folks. Support.
Yeah. Go to YouTube. Go to YouTube, find the Range Report. If you see this face and a bunch of guns, do me a favor, hit subscribe. Go to pick random videos when you subscribe. I don't care what you pick. Pick a random video, click a video, go into the comments, and let me know you were there. Just give me a date and time and a stamp. Just say, hey, Frank, what's going on? Whatever. I don't care if you like what I'm shooting, you don't like what I'm shooting. Interact with me a little bit on the. I have got the highest percentage of responding to audience members of any YouTube channel in existence. I have the highest number. I respond to just about every single comment that comes on whether how good or bad or indifferent and everything else. You can find me on Rumble. I'm locked on Rumble right now. They've got 230 videos. They've only transferred over like 60 right now. It's taking months for the Rumble to do it, and I don't know how you'd find me anyway. But find me on the YouTube. Find the Vass on the YouTube on No Soundbites Allowed. Subscribe to him. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you watch his show. He's got a damn good show. It's very entertaining. And I watch whenever I can, and I try to call every now and then when the phone lines are up. Phone lines were up tonight, but I didn't put the phone number up. So
forgot about that. No.
Well, because my phone is downstairs, and I don't feel like going through the Wi-Fi to get it. It took me 45 minutes to climb the stairs to come up here to the show tonight.
Well, then go and lay down.
It's dedication.
Yes.
Yeah. And Marshall called out too. He says his back was out, and I wasn't going to stick you with doing the whole thing by yourself.
Mm.
It'd be nice if Jeremy stopped in. We haven't seen Jeremy in a while.
He was supposed to be back this week. Maybe next week.
Be nice as him if Mr. A. Payne. We'll see about getting the A. Payne back in here soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, get Alexander back in. And we know Dan Wass, I sent to Dan will be on soon with us too. And soon we're gonna have stilettos and shotguns on.
And that'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a good show. And I've been accumulating some things that we're going to be I'm gonna try and I don't know. Maybe you can see this for you.
What? It's a site. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice
and you know what? Do you know what they're for?
That looks like a pistol sight.
Oh well, it can be pistol. It can be rifle. But you know what it's for? It's for one of our lucky viewers.
Oh.
Haha. In a nice case and everything. Yes. You see, we're trying to do something here, but we need some more interaction. We need people to help us out, to get some motivation going here, because we're going to start doing some giveaways soon. Yours truly has been trying to pack the bench here deep with a whole bunch of good stuff that we're going to wind up giving away. Because hopefully in the next couple of weeks we're going to have a couple of big announcements. So we're going to see.
Well, Christmas. Always good to have a couple of good Christmas announcements.
Well, for Christmas we're giving away a gun safe.
Oh, sweet.
We're giving away a gun safe, not a big giant gun safe. We're giving one of them biometric gun safes that we did the review video on. We have the one that we did, the one that we reviewed best. We got another one, and we're going to be giving that one away. The one that was the best performance.
Not the one standing up underneath the desk, but the one that was laying flat.
Yeah, one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, we have one of those that we're going to be giving away. It was the best performing, most consistent, and most redundancy. We're going to be giving one of those away.
Okay, that's the one with the key, the biometric, and
biometric,
and it had a keypad
and a digital keypad.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, it was right in the middle.
Yeah, we're going to be giving one of those away.
See, I watched your videos.
That one's already gone.
Okay.
That one's already gone, so we're going to be getting another one.
See, but I remember your videos. I actually watch your videos. I remember that one.
Well, I'm glad somebody does. I'm glad somebody does. And then pretty soon we're going to be doing with the channel soon is we're going to be expanding from going in from just doing guns and stuff like that. We're going to and gun related gear. We're going to be expanding into a whole variety of outdoor living kind of things. We're going to be talking about survival tactics, survival products, different things that you can use and have in the event of an emergency, and for recreational purposes. We're going to be I actually have been collecting an assortment of tents. Yes, camping tents and all kinds of camping gear, so I could start reviewing that stuff as we expand the channel and to get into a little bit more area. We want to sort of make things a little bit more of a
Total
not
survival.
yeah, total survival, family friendly kind of stuff. We want to be able to bring you more things, not just gun related stuff, but how to be one with freedom, how to embrace your freedom, take advantage of it, and learn to love the country that you live in, because America is one of the most beautiful countries that there is on the face of the earth.
Sure.
And we want to promote outdoor living. We want to promote people to get outside, tread lightly with nature, and just experience life. You know, every day you think about an old memory is a day that you've failed to make a new one. So every day, take an opportunity to make a new memory for yourself, make a new memory for your family, move forward with life, and always create something. Because when you think about, you spend so much time thinking about what you did 25 years ago, that 25 years from now, what are you going to think of then? Make memories today. Make memories today. And that's one of the things that we're going to be doing with the channel is we're going to be doing a bunch of traveling and experiencing a lot of things, and it's going to be cool. It's a little bit of a transformative thing, and it all has something to do with an end goal that we have, but we'll talk about that when that time comes. But until then, I'm going to sign off, and with my usual, you guys be safe, shoot straight. We love each and every one of you guys. Love you all so much. We appreciate you guys being here. Come back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and maybe we'll do a giveaway next week. I don't know. Maybe I'll get to the point and do a giveaway of some sort. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Could be.
All right, Vass, give us a sign out.
Everyone, I want you to be well, be safe, and come back. We want you here every week with us.
Cool. Good night, all.